Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. I'm Shubham Agarwal and we are about to explore something really interesting. First of all, what is the future of influencer marketing and how small influencers are making a big splash in marketing? So, I want you to think of it like David versus Goliath of the digital age. Today, we'll talk about how these Davids, our micro influencers, are changing the game with authenticity and relatability. Let's dive into influencer marketing 2.0 and why sometimes really less is more. In this presentation, we are going to cover a few slides. We are going to talk about what is micro influencer marketing, what is its relevance to modern marketing, what are some of the research findings that I have collected. Also, influence of micro influencer marketing on customer behavior and businesses. Also see some real world examples and case studies to understand how relevant it is. We'll then finally come to the conclusion with summary and personal insights and predictions. So, moving ahead, first of all, what is micro influencer marketing? So, micro influencers are like the super heroes in our world. They are a bit different. They don't fly around with capes. They just have a solid following between either 1K or even 100K, which makes them feel more like the neighborhood friendly Spider-Man. What's great is their reliability. So, unlike celebrities who seem a little too good for us, micro influencers are the ones we trust because they are genuine. They are essentially the anti celebrity influencers, more authentic, more affordable, and we'll see more effective for brands as well. So, moving ahead, what is its relevance to modern marketing, right? Simply put, people crave authenticity. We have reached a point where traditional ads think of the flashy, perfect images of products. They just don't cut it anymore. Instead, micro influencers give us the real deal. Think of it this way: would you rather trust your best friend or a random billboard ad? Micro influencers are like that trusted friend. They feel more genuine because their content isn't overly polished or scripted. They give that sense of relationship, that sense of community, and also their authenticity creates trust, which makes them incredibly valuable to brands trying to break through the noise. And they help to uh, target, like basically find out your target audience as well. Moving ahead, now what are some of the research findings? What does the data say? So, what you'll realize here is that research shows that micro influencers outperform larger influencers in terms of both engagement as well as ROI. ROI is on investment. So, according to the Influencer Marketing Hub, the micro influencers have engagement rate of around 4%, as you can see from the chart, while larger influencers only have of around 1.5 to 2.5%. And let's talk about ROI, right? So Takumi's 2022 study found that micro influencers deliver a whooping 60% better ROI. Why? Because their audiences are loyal and interested in what they say. It's like they have a fan club that actually cares about their opinions. Now, coming on to the heat map, I wanted to. So in the heat map, I've taken basically four different sectors. These sectors are lifestyle, tech, fitness, and industry. But there's what you'll highlight, like the first thing that you will see here is that all the green boxes, they are genuinely in the micro influencer blocks, while the red ones come to the macro influencers. So let's analyze this a little bit better. So the darker areas represent the higher engagement. So you'll notice the brightest spots are right in the sweet spot of micro influencers. So these are, as we already discussed, right? So if you look over to the micro influencers, their following might not be that huge, but because the engagement rate is higher, that would lead to more traction. Also, if you look at the micro influencers, the ones with hundreds of thousands of followers, millions of followers, their colors start to fade. So engagement rate here drops to 2.5%. So what does that mean in plain terms? That my macro influencers may have bigger following, but because they have less interaction, their audience will be like watching you from afar rather than interacting with your brand, with your content. Also, why does this matter for brands, right? So we get, if the macro influencers are reaching it to a wider audience, why isn't it better? It isn't because when the audience feels connected, when the audience likes your product, when they comment on your product, and when they engage with the product, there's a high chance of them going out there and purchasing that product, putting that money in. So that's what it comes down to, right? So for example, if I were to highlight main points, so if you were to see in the beauty sector, at authenticity perception for micro, it goes up as high as 0.8, the highest we could reach. But at the same time, for authentic perception for macro influencers, comes out only to be 0.4. It's basically half of what micro influencers are offering. Similarly, in the lifestyle sector for engagement, so these fitness influencers, which we'll talk about in a case study in just a while, have so much authenticity. They go up to highest as 0.8. People relate to their content, while similarly that for macro is only 0.4. So people feel that these large influencers with millions of followings are not really as honest as they are projecting to be. So that is where micro influencers take that edge. Now moving ahead, we'll talk about the impact on customer behavior and businesses. So first of all, I wanted to focus on the charts that are present in this presentation. First, the trust level. So what you'll see is that celebrities, those with millions and millions of followers, have only 20% trust level, right? People admire them, people look at their post, but they're not really trusting them. Then coming to macro influencers, those with hundreds of thousands of followers, millions of followers, but not as big as celebrity. So they do have that extra trust level. They reach up to 35%, over 35 just. But now here's the part where it gets really interesting. Look at the trust level for micro influencers. It's crossing 70, and that's where it comes down to, right? If the customers are trusting your brand, if the customers are trusting what you are telling them, they are more likely to affect your business. They're more likely to buy from you. Similarly, the ripple effect. So micro influencers drive reach and engagement at a much higher pace. So for example, micro influencer might have the limited amount of followers. They only might have 3 followers, but if those 3 followers really trust that micro influencer, they're more likely to tell their friends as well. So that ripple effect creates. You one friend tells another one, and then it just keeps on increasing from there on. So even though the initial target audience is pretty low, but because they are a loyal audience, it is only bound to grow from there. So here are some figures as well to back it up. Small influencers often have engagement rates up to 60% higher. Influencer market as a whole is projected to grow over $15 billion by 2025 itself. We are almost there to 2025. There's a 4% engagement rate of micro influencers compared to that only of 1.5% of macro influencers. And one more thing here that is something very important is all the audience of micro influencers is built organically. So people are really liking their content, they're engaging with the content. But we have seen in many cases that with macro influencers, there might be some cases where there are fake bots, fake followers, and this audience, while the number may seem huge, it's not really that huge because those people are not real people. They are just bots created artificially or by computer to just show maximum impact. So now moving ahead, now we'll talk about 2 case studies. So first case study, as I already mentioned, about the fitness brand. So Gymshark it's a UK based fitness brand which leverages micro influencers to build its reputation among young active customers, right? So how does it do that? It achieved a high level of community engagement by asking these micro influencers to visit their gyms. So what that did was, because these influencers weren't on a weren't on a script that was already pre-written. They just went there and shared their authentic opinions, their real feedback. Um, what that real feedback helped with was, it engaged the audience more. They felt that because since it wasn't scripted and they were highlighting pros as well as some kind of constructive criticism, people felt, yeah, like that this was a really good choice. So this helped them to build an authentic image, and also helped connect the audience personally with the brand itself. Now they're coming to BarkBox. So BarkBox is a subscription service for dog treats and toys. Those who already have pets would have heard about BarkBox for sure. So even they didn't go to big influencers. Instead, they targeted dog lovers who are micro influencers in the pet community. So what was the result? The result was that the posts were genuine, they were cute, and also very shareable. So leading a growth in subscribers and higher retention rate. So people weren't just trying it for the fact of trying it, because people knew that other people have found it useful. They were more engaged with it and persisted with it more longer. So these brands didn't need big names. What they needed was some relatable ones. So many you sometimes what you don't need is, you want to attract customers that are more targeted to you, that are more likely to try your product. And because BarkBox went to people in the pet community, it really helped them to figure out what they wanted. Now, coming on to analysis and implications. So, we have talked about these case studies. We have also shown data to back it up. Now, let's come to benefits. Pretty easy to see. There's authenticity, trust level. There's cost effectiveness, because micro influencers don't charge as huge an amount as macro influencers. And also there's targeted reach, highlighted in the example of BarkBox or Gymshark. You can reach out to these micro influencers who have very targeted customers and a targeted audience base, and you can try to leverage that audience base to increase your brand. Now, coming on to the challenges also are pretty tricky. So first one is scalability, uh, because managing multiple influencers is like herding cats, right? It's tough to coordinate and keep everyone on the same message. Then ROI tracking. So measuring ROI with so many influencers can be very complex, especially if the impact is spread out across many small audiences. So you can't really get a very good number of what is the exact ROI. And finally, coming to quality control. So because each influencer has its own individuality and maintains its brand value, so without losing your unique voice, without like maintaining that slogan or maintaining that brand essence, without the influencer losing their uh, own identity in the process, their own unique voice, it's a balancing act, right? So that balancing act can be difficult to navigate, and it's something that you need to give them freedom also, but maintain brand identity across multiple micro influencers. So now coming to the future trends, right? So what is the future potential? So the future potential, first of all, the biggest one is long-term partnerships, because customers are really trying out your product. You know that they're going to give it a chance in real time as well. There's transparency, we already talked about it. There's trust levels. And finally, coming to the advanced analytics. So because AI and data tools are helping brands match with the right influencers, you can measure their impact more clearly as well. Going ahead, so finally now coming to the end of the presentation, what were the summary? What is the main thing that you can take away from this presentation? So micro influencers, they drive higher engagement rates. They give you long-term brand loyalty, which can be fostered through relatable interactions. There's real-time feedback as well. So micro influencers, because their customers, their audience engages a lot more, you can really get real-time feedback. You can get what's the brand lacking behind and what are the things that they can do. There's niche targeting as well. So because you're targeting a particular segmented, there's a very good chance that you will be able to get a higher conversion rate, as micro influencers cater to specific communities. Micro influencers marketing is also cost effective. So brands it allows brands to reach targeted audience without the high cost. So you aren't paying huge bucks of money to macro influencers and not even sure if the message is reaching the right audience. Micro influencers counter that. And finally, authenticity and relatability are central to the success of micro influencers, because they are seen more trustworthy and more accessible. Moving ahead, so these are the personal insights and predictions. I think micro influencers, because of their targeted segment, they'll drive more community-led growth and long-term brand partnerships, as we talked about. There will be an expansion in B2B markets as well. So specialists in industry leaders, ed tech, fintech, health tech, right? Because these influencers have these credibility, they also increase the emotional appeal, bringing the customers in with them. There's using AI and data analytics for multiple things, right? Driving these customized messages, which gives you stronger relevance and a deeper connection. So I think micro influencer would be the way to go for, would be the future of influencer marketing, and this would define a new era of marketing in which you are targeting the customers you really want and doing it cost effectively, as authentic as it can be, and as getting a higher conversion rate as possible. These are the references and some few slides that help me get this all this data. Thank you. If there's anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out.